Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome you to a new League of Legends video. I am here to present to you guys another rework that Riot is working on. This time it is done to our favorite headhunter, Rengar. This is another pretty good rework, and what they tried to do with Rengar was make him a bit weaker early game in terms of base damage on his skills, but gave him a lot more scalability up into late game. It seems they also gave him lower cooldowns on his skills earlier in the game to try and make up for the lack of damage that he now has. Overall, the purpose of this rework is to make him less of a champion who dives your backline, kills him in a matter of seconds but usually dies right after, and make him more of a true fighter who wants to be in the fight dealing consistent sustained damage, while having really good chasing powers. So before I dive into each skill and dissect all of the changes and the numbers, there are 3 general changes that I quickly want to mention. The first thing I want to talk about is that whenever your skills are in the empowered version, it now shows the cooldown of the basic version of that spell as well. And the last thing is that his E is the only ability that has a somewhat different visual to it since it is now a skill shot. But more into that later. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the new Bone Tooth necklace. Now, the Bone Tooth necklace actually replaces the trinket slot and the trinket item itself. Of course, gaining the trinket's effects, which obviously makes it that there's now 3 choices of 3 different Bone Tooth necklace, one of course for each trinket. Bone Tooth necklace no longer grants the flat AD that it currently does. As of right now, it seems that you cannot lose stacks anymore on the necklace, and you can only gain stats by, of course, getting kills or assists. However, with that being said, the bonuses now require more stacks in order to get the effects. Currently on the live server, the bonuses are at 3 stacks, 6, 9, and 14, while the new Rengar's bonuses are at 3, 6, 12, and 20. And of course, the effects that you now get from the necklace are also slightly different. At 3 stacks, you now get 25 flat move speed when you're out of combat or if you're in a brush. At 6 stacks, your passive jump range is increased by 125. 12 stacks, your ultimate's duration is increased by 5 seconds. And 20 stacks will double the move speed that you get when you are stealth. So let's finally jump into his skills. His passive is pretty much the same thing, however the range now is shorter by 25 with the necklace upgrade, sitting at 725 now versus the previous 750. So next, let us move on to his Q. The first major difference with the Q ability is the cooldown. It is now sitting at 6 seconds at level 1, then goes down all the way to 4 seconds. While on the live server, 6 seconds was the lowest base cooldown you can get. This is pretty good, especially since now you can proc the 5 ferocity faster. They have also removed the attack speed bonus that you get from the regular savagery, but gave it 3 seconds now to use its effect versus the current 2. Probably the biggest change to his Q is that now the Q damage is considered modified, instead of bonus damage, which works on top of your regular auto attack damage. This makes it so that his Q no longer works on turrets. However, the damage on the Q now sits at 100 base damage at level 5. However, it scales off of a beastly 120% of your AD. While on the live server, it has 150 bonus damage flat, plus of course 100% of your AD. And then of course we have the empowered savagery, which now, just like his other empowered abilities, will scale off of champion level. Which means that the level of the skill no longer matters for the empowered version, as it will always do the same damage no matter the level. This makes it very interesting in how you decide to level up your skills and what you decide to max first. Here's how the damage now looks like on his Q. It now deals 10 plus 10 times your level plus 150% of your AD. The empowered savagery also grants attack speed, which also scales off of champion level. This one is sitting at 47 plus 3 times the level base attack speed. And then to put the icing on the cake, he also gets an increased 10% damage for 5 seconds. But let us not forget that the current live Rengar can stack the attack speed from his regular savagery and his empowered savagery, while the new Rengar only gets attack speed from his empowered savagery. So overall, the base damage on the Q is a bit smaller early game, however it scales much better into late game. So that was probably the biggest change to Rengar. But let's talk about his W next. His W now gives lower base MR and armor when you use it, however it gives a lot more if you hit a champion and or a large monster. So far the damage seems to be the exact same, but the base armor and MR he now gets at level 5 is only 30, compared to the 43 on the live server. But let's not forget the bonus armor and MR, which now stacks at 15 extra per champion and or large monster hit at level 5. The Empowered Roar also seems to scale off of the level, as mentioned earlier, which now makes it have its own damage rather than just simply dealing the regular Roar's damage. Its damage now is 25 plus 15 times the level plus 80% of the AP. The healing on his W is now a lot smaller the healthier Rengar is. But on the contrary, it heals a lot more compared to the live version based on missing HP. The max healing his W can now provide is 50 plus 25 times your level, compared to the current live one, which is 40 plus 20 times your level. So they seem to make his W a bit more skill oriented, meaning that if you use it at the right time and at the right place, you will get a lot more benefits from it. Next, let's talk about his E. I showed you guys earlier in this video that his E is now a skill shot, obviously making it harder to land. The slow duration is the exact same, however, his E now slows for an extra 10%. To make up for the E now being a skill shot, the damage has been slightly increased. It now deals 250 damage at level 5 plus 70% of your bonus AD. While currently on the live server it's 240 at level 5 plus 70% bonus AD. Now that I look at it again, it really isn't a whole lot of extra damage. But that's just the regular Bolo, as the empowered one now as well, like all the other ones, scales off of level, which will give it pretty brutal base damage at level 18, which according to my calculations is 390 base damage, plus that 70% bonus AD. And on top of everything else, the root on the empowered Bolo now also lasts 0.25 seconds longer. Now let us jump into his ultimate. His ultimate now no longer grants ferocity while you are stealth, but instead now grants 5 stacks per second for 5 seconds once you leave stealth. He also seems to get bonus movement speed whenever he is chasing down a target while invisible. The cooldown on the ultimate is also a lot shorter at the earlier levels. As he exits invisibility on top of the 5 ferocity stacks, he also gets a burst of movement speed for that 5 seconds, which is very helpful in order for him to continue the chase, since he now really needs it, since again he is no longer a burst type champion, mainly because again his ultimate no longer grants him ferocity stacks while invisible. So overall, a pretty decent rework on Rengar. They removed the annoying and boring suicide Rengar type playstyle and changed him to someone who's a bit more of a sustained fighter with strong chasing power. Also, he's obviously not as strong of a tower pusher anymore since his Q no longer works on turrets, or at least not yet. And on top of everything else, he seems to have much stronger scaling into late game now, dealing more damage overall, as I'm sure you guys were able to tell from the many numbers that I threw at you during this video. But that is about it for this video, guys. I hope you have learned something new and have got a better idea of how the new Rengar will look like when he is released. As I'm sure you can tell, this video did take quite a bit of work and number crunching, so please do throw in a like if you did enjoy this one. And also sharing it with your friends helps as well. Be sure to follow me on my Facebook and Twitter pages down in the description below. And while you're at it, check out my friend the Paquito's channel on YouTube as well for more sweet League of Legends action. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this and I hope to see you next time. Peace.